Hey guys, Ashley here, making this quick video to tell you about where your client contracts fit into the overall client onboarding process. Big picture, you have your client relationship, which is all about the trust that you build, the rapport that you build, the reputation that you are so thoughtful about in your marketing. And then you have the legal backbone of your business, which is often the worst case scenario and the protection and the safety net that's going to catch you if things really go wrong. Your contract fits into your client relationship process when you need that safety net. So early on, you don't necessarily need to be throwing a legal document at your potential prospects. If you're recruiting people and you're trying to show them what kinds of skills you offer and why you might be a good fit, you get to decide how you want to play that out. It's like dating. It's like first you make the attraction and then you draw them in and then you show them what's going to be really great. Work with a marketing pro on how to do that for your business. But once you begin to provide services that you want a legal safety net for, then you need a contract, because here's the thing. You don't have any legal remedy until you have an agreement with your clients. There can be an agreement without a signed written document that your lawyer prepares for you. Emails can be contracts. Think about every time you see a restaurant with an open sign, that's an offer. You walk in and you order something, that's acceptance. They bring you your food, that's consideration. You are on the hook for that meal. But it's much clearer to have a contract that's clear to the services that you're providing, the payment that's due, when it's due, and all the other things that you might want to be protected in your business. And you don't have those protections in place until you have those three things: offer, acceptance, consideration. In other words, until you have a signed document with your client, just for the sake of being really clean and clear about it. I want you to be thinking, when do I need that protection in place? Maybe it's when you have a portion of your fee that you want to be non-refundable. You need a client contract that says, my initial deposit is non-refundable, and here's why. Courts always want to know why. Maybe it's when you start to provide intellectual property, like you're making a written report for your clients, or you're on a video call that's recorded, and you want to be really clear about that intellectual property being yours and that you're giving a use to your client. If you're a photographer, certainly before you begin providing services, you want a contract in place. Same thing with liability releases and disclaimers. Before you get yourself into a situation where you might be putting yourself at risk, put the safety net there through a client contract. So that's when you might want to have a client contract, when you need the protection in place. How about where that contract fits into your client onboarding process? As attorneys, when you work with us, you'll find that we do it right up front. Our risk starts to come into play pretty much immediately, so that it's clear that we're not providing legal advice until you're our client. You can kind of choose how you want this to go. Recommend generally sending the contract with the first invoice or right before the first invoice, so that your protections are there before you actually enter into an engagement with your client. Last thing. Don't forget that failing to read a contract is never an excuse for violating its terms, which is bad for those of us who just scroll really fast through the terms of use and then click that we agree without reading them. We're always bound by those things. We're always bound by an agreement that we sign, whether or not we read it. It's also not awesome for your clients if they don't read their contracts, and it's not awesome for you if you're trying to build a really fruitful, mutually beneficial, and supportive relationship with your clients, which we know that you are. So I mentioned this here in the video about how contracts fit into your client relationships, because you can use this as an opportunity to communicate clearly with your people and make sure that they feel totally supported. This is why we always recommend that our clients understand their contracts just as well as their lawyers do, so that when their clients come to them and are like, I don't understand this, what does this mean? Can we change this piece? You'll feel just as clear and empowered to say, yes, I'm willing to negotiate on this. No, I can't change this, and this is why that's here, which is why it's great to work with a lawyer who's in your industry and can explain all of those things to you and how they apply. But for 3 sort of practical tips to encourage your client to read their contract fully and make sure that they fully understand it before they sign, so that when you are legally bound to an agreement, you're actually also like on the same page and feel good about being bound to that agreement. Here are 3 things that you can do. 1, set a meeting and meet with your client and walk through the contract together. Answer any questions that they have, explain how things work, and just you'll be with them and you can say sort of, this is how this is, this is how this is, this is how this is, so that before they sign, you know for sure that they read the thing. Second, you can put an initial next to especially important or potentially surprising clauses, anything that you know based on all of your experience working with people. What have your past clients been concerned about? Or have you ever had a client be like, I can't believe that was in there? If that's your experience, then it might serve your future client relationships to draw the client's attention to that provision early on and in advance. And one way that you can do that is by putting a little box for them to initial so that their attention is drawn right to that provision. As a side thing, remember that multiple signatures on a contract don't matter. If your client signs once, they are bound whether they read the thing or not. But we want people to read their contracts so that they feel empowered and like there's no smarminess happening. The third thing you can do after you have your clients sign their contracts, and that is remind them about what your primary clauses are. Remind them about what the policies are. If you're working with a client and there's some type of revision situation happening, then when you send a form of a draft product and you're asking for your client's revisions, then say, just a reminder, we have 2 more rounds of revisions left, or just a reminder, we only communicate by email, or just a reminder, I am available on Thursdays only, and have that match whatever your contract provision is. So I just wanted to mention those things too, because the more that your client feels clear about what's in their contract, the more they're going to trust you, the more that they're going to get out of their relationship. And we know that just because we've all been on the other side. If you need advice specific to your situation, consult a lawyer in your jurisdiction, and we are here to help if you're in Colorado. Take care, everyone.